Now, I'd like to... oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Oh, goodness me. I'd like to say something about this, right? This is a bird hide. Now, getting, like, it's all fair and well, right? We're bringing information to the public about the environment, right? But we've got this big structure here. We've got this structure. We're out in this environment here. Look at this. This is nuts, right? But then we've got this bird hide that is designed to sit and watch the birds. So we're closed in this thing to observe the environment. Hey, look, didn't I say spider webs? We didn't see many spider webs before. There's one. I can't even see it. There. You see it? Once upon a time they'd be all over the bush, but it's not healthy, right? Now, we've got information here about the environment and the Indigenous people and, like the food they ate and how they lived, right? It was all good, right? Beautiful. Good, nice information about how it was. And it was actually here, like that spring, but they dredged it and now the spring is gone, so you can't get the fresh water. So we've got information there about the seasons of the environment. But you see, this is all Red Bank Pools is where we are. And this is closed off from the environment. You know what I mean? It's not actually living, it's not like being in it. Like, why would we want to sit here to observe the birds without experience, like within this thing, this box, sitting in a box, so it's a disconnection. I suppose it's not a bad view, but it's a shelter. But what I wanted to say was, this is the information about, so we do have birds there about the birds here. Now, see how there, the river, look at that photo. There's no foam on that, right? See? But see how that's different? Look. Now look at it. See how that's not a normal occurrence? But yeah, getting back to this information and how they spend the money. So the environmental organisations stipulate what to spend the money on for everyone. The government priority on what they spend the money on is actually the paths and structures and signs about what used to be. Noongar people here used to be able to sustain themselves with what was in the environment here, like with the turtles and the marinade, that's like freshwater crayfish, and the frogs and the ducks, the reeds, the plants, kangaroos. None of that's here now. Some of these plants are. There's a small minority of plants, but now we're battling to get any tadpoles, never mind frogs. Like now we should be hearing the frogs like rah, 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 rah. That's how it used to be. Rah, rah, rah. It'd be noisy, right? We've got birds still, but how many turtles. Anyway, and we used to do, when I was in the Environmental Society, we used to do like water testing. It's upstream a fair ways. And, water testing and have a look at the microbiology and, see what was in the water. And that when I first started doing that would have been, I didn't do a lot of that, but I did a bit. That would have been going back probably 2021, 22 maybe. Anyway, when I first started doing it, there was quite a lot of, like life in the water, little, beetles and larvae and, we used to be able to get marron and jewel gears, and I mean, that's the macro invertebrate. Tadpoles, frogs, dragonflies, like heaps of it. And even on the ground, like in the sand and in the dirt, there was always like little tiny microscopic, lots of insects, like little things, like the ground would be crawling, right? Like when you look closely, there would be all this life in there. Like you don't even really notice it because it's so small, but it's there. But it's no longer there. So, we know the food chain goes, starts off at that micro level, and see how the path's all sprayed. It's the spray, right? Like the spray. The frogs are very, very sensitive to sprays. I think it's got a lot to do with it. But also like what they put out in the sky. But that's another time for another video. My nose is running. So anyway, I just wanted to point out that, going back to the monetary on what they spend the money on the environment is superficial, in the sense that they will put signage and stuff up and make museums about what used to be here, not preserving what we still have. They do a little bit of that, but it's like breadcrumbing. It's like bare minimum of actual effective environmental care. Now, I'm going to have to. I won't go too deep, right? That'll have to be for another video, because it is very, very goes deep, right? Like as to the way things go. I don't want to do a whole lot of negative videos, but the reality of it is like if things aren't actually spoken about in the real sense of what's really happening and how we are being deceived to be taking care of the environment, because people just get on with their lives and just assume that somebody else is going to do it right, somebody else is going to make sure things are done correctly, but that's not the way it is. Things are done on a surface level, not on a real level. Like, for instance, the natural resource management. I don't want to be bagging out natural resource management, because they do some good things as well, but we know that they're being used as well by those that are spinning the agenda. And like there are people there that actually do really care about the environment and want to make a difference, but they're in the wrong organisation to be able to do that, because they are restricted on what they can do, and they will, it threatens their jobs and, their monetary sustainability. But why be there if you can't be effective, right? So anyway, they put money into they did for a while. I don't even think they can do this anymore, but they used to do fencing for farmers, and that had some areas of natural landscape on their properties, and they could fence off the areas so that their livestock can't get into it and ruin it. So they used to do that, and they would fund that. I don't know how much of that they do anymore. I'm not sure, because I haven't been involved for a long time, because I've seen the superficialities of a lot of things that were going on. So, but if we were to really save our rivers, we would have to go to the beginning of the basin where the river begins, right? Go right back, because our farms go right up to the the swamplands at the top of the beginning of the river tributaries. Oh look, I said it. See how you can see across the river there. You've got little bits of trees and stuff on the top of the hill, but it's all open up for farm. Like this on the other side of that. There's just they clear everything. There's little bits of bush on top of the hills where it's rocky and they can't farm anyway. But a lot of the time they just allow the livestock to graze, but then that knocks off the the understory. People will say save the trees, and yeah, that's fair and well, but we also need to preserve the understory. Is very important. And the one of the other practices is the burning of the bush for they promote it, like they say, well, Indigenous people, they used to burn the bush periodically to manage it, right? Which they did to a certain degree. But the way they do it now is like on mass scale, right? And they turn into bushfires. They often escape and burn hectares and hectares of bush. I don't know who manages it. Well, obviously the fire department. But look, I'll just show you, like what I was talking about in my last video. I was talking about the bridal creeper. I'll just turn. You see how over there growing up the trees? Let's zoom in. See that? That's a real pest, right? It can take over, and it was. So the Natural Resource Management put they made a war on weeds, right? They've still got bits and pieces of it around, but there was a lot of it. It was taking over everything, which is, fair and well to get rid of it. But they sprayed it. But I believe that's been very detrimental to the trees. Look. Do you look? There it is. Look. We always have growth and death, right? But it's out of balance, and we're getting more and more of the death. So just let me show you. See the trees, how they just break off like that? See? It's because they're not well. So, I can show you places, like this is actually quite good here. But I can show you places where, like that I used to walk along when I was in another town, but, we lived on the river there as well. And there was areas that were really nice like this. And I used to walk through there, but I walked through there for like 25 years, right? And slowly, and because I was, I was working with the Environmental Society over there and, doing the tree planting and stuff. But I started to see how things were going. And how it wasn't really going anywhere, right? Apart from maintaining the paths for the people and making signs. Now, I like information as much as anyone. I like to be educated on things. Again, a lot of money on the signage. Yes, we're learning about the bush here, but it's become like we've got to learn it from the signs because the bush is actually becoming more and more deteriorated. So look, so we don't even have this anymore, the bulrush here. That's a native one there, see? Yanget. I haven't seen any of that. It's not even here anymore. So we get signage of what's not here anymore, and less of actually because we've got the ducks, turtles. We don't see many of them anymore. The fish, don't see them anymore. Possums. I haven't seen any possums. The bush potatoes. Jabak. Oh, they call them jabak. They call them kanus, but they've got another name. Jabak. Yeah, it must be another name for them. Noongar name. They're beautiful. They're actually beautiful. I've been out there and with the ladies and collected them. They showed me that, and they're like I haven't seen any around here because look, see this is all weed. So those kinds of things we can't even find them in this. This is not what the bush would normally used to look like. But when when the settlers came, they changed the whole environment. They brought in the clover for pasture for the sheep and cattle, and it's taken over everything. So this would have been more like grasslands, and under the she oaks you don't get a lot of understory anyway because they drop all those their leaves, kind of a bit like pine. But we, because you wouldn't have had all this grass and this clover and shit, you could find the kanus and that, or what do they call them there? The durik, what do they call them? Durik. Oh, anyway. Getting back to what I was talking about. So I'm jumping from one thing to another. So, getting back to they spend the money on signage and the walk track itself, and educating people on what used to be here and how Indigenous people used to live. But really we need to be re-establishing and restoring. I don't think we would ever be able to get rid of like all these weeds and bring that back to as it was, but there is things like the bulrush that could be re-established because they are an edible food source as well, and like stopping the spraying, which is causing the death of so much of the microinvertebrate, the microorganisms in the river, and that needs to be restored. But yeah, actually that's what I was getting at. So you would have to go like all the way up to the tributaries and all along the edges of the tributaries to replant, starting with specific plants that are specific plants that are salt tolerant, because the river's all salty now and the landscape's all salty because they cleared all the trees. I might do a video, actually I might go for a drive right up to the top of the river tributaries and maybe follow the river down to in certain places, just to show the what I'm talking about. So anyway, hang on, it's back here. Let me get up here. Get around here. Yeah, so what happened to actually mend what's going on here? Well, you have to go right up to the top of the tributaries and then maybe start allowing, now I would say tree planting, but not necessarily so. It could be like allowing just the natural bush to take back itself, come back on its own, you know what I mean? So to stop the farming, not completely, because obviously, we need to grow some food. But all on the edges of the river and the tributaries to the river, it would have to be, pulled right, like the farming would have to pull itself right back. But see, they don't, right? They farm right up to the edges of the tributaries. So they're spraying right on the edges of what runs into the river, right? So first at the salt plains fill up, and then that washes down into, and all on the edges, all the way down the river, and all the tributaries into the river would actually have to be re-established, or let the bush re-establish itself. A lot of it is, that bad that, there's nothing to re-establish itself. So in those sort of areas, you would have to start reintroducing the seed. And people have found ways of doing it, like on the salt plains, the salt lakes around them. You get samphire and saltbush start to grow, and then you go around the edges, and then from there the she oaks, because the she oaks are quite salt tolerant, and then from there you know, like the acacias, because the acacias grow, they fix the nitrogen in the ground, right? So they heal the ground. So there's ways of doing it, right? But it has to be serious. Like, but they just do these little small gestures, and then say there's no funding. But then they spend funding on things, a lot of money on like marketing what they do. You know what I mean? And signs about what used to be, rather than saving what we still have. So it's about priorities, right? Priorities on funding, spending is going to the wrong places, because people are just, you know, a lot of people just, you know, it's employment for them, right? But anyway, I'll leave it there, and I'll see you again in the next video. I'm going to do some more of these sort of videos. Tell me if you're interested, because you know, I'm gonna be getting out and about soon. So, I mean, this is in my local area. I am actually going to. Well, I'm not going to say what I'm going to do. I'm going to just leave it at that. So I'll see you again in my next video. Bye bye.